Well, as we get ready to go into the weekend, we were talking about some cooler weather headed our way, even cooler than what we've seen maybe this week. And maybe you need something to warm you up. Well, you need to head to Donovan's Meadery, where we are checking in with Dean Hurst again. Good morning. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
Dean, I feel like we have talked about some of the drinks that you're going to display for us before. Primarily, we're talking a little hot toddy. And I know there's so many different variations. So you got to give Carly and I a refresher course a little bit on like what it is exactly. And when you think of it, how many different variations is the good old hot toddy?
Well, it comes down to like, how do you like your egg, right? Because you can do an egg a whole bunch of different ways. And what kind of hot sauce do you want on your egg? And do you put a lot of pepper or fresh, you want pink sea salt on it? I mean, it gets really weird. I don't know why I picked the egg as an example, but with the hot toddy, you have to think you have a spirit, you have something hot, and then maybe you have some herbs or a fruit profile that ramps up all the flavors of that base spirit. So you can really pick anything. Like here I bought today, whiskey. Most people think of whiskey, but I also bought a rum, a cognac, a tequila, and I threw in a gin because there's nothing stopping you from doing a gin hot toddy. You just have to be mindful of what it is that you're amping up. That flavor profile, the juniper and the alcohol that's going to come off of gin is going to be very different than the alcohol coming off of an aged spirit.
So what is actually the warm part of it? Like, what are you adding to the spirits?
Good question. So today we're just using hot water, but I also brought a little tea bag with some, I didn't have any cardamom tea at home, but last night when I was kind of doing a little research, I saw someone use a a chai tea flavor profile in a rum hot toddy. And I was like, how brilliant is that? So I'm just going to lie to you and tell you this is cardamom, chai tea.
You know what, Dean, that's actually a little background information. After the show, I always go and make a chai tea since I've been working at home.
Really?
So I could have helped you. Mine's a pod though. I cheat and do the pod way. So I
chai
tried to do that with you.
And
I love that you're like us, Dean, and you're not a good liar, that you like couldn't even admit, like you couldn't even just go with it. Like you felt guilty enough to say, you know what, I'm going to be honest. Yeah. All right, go ahead and make the drink for us so we can see how it's done.
Well, because most people at home don't have everything they want when they stop and think about, oh, I want to have this drink. You always have everything you want. So there's always a quick way to work around it. And tea, at the end of the day, most times we're looking for the comfort factor of it. We're drinking something warm. There's a tannic quality to tea. You don't need much of that flavor profile, so you can steep it just for a second. And here we are getting, again, chai tea, right? Wink, wink.
Of course.
So we're going to let that sit in there just for a second, or am I going to pull it out? Let's pull it out. So we just get a little bit of that tea tannins in there, and I'm thinking I'm going to put gin in this one. And then we're going to talk about how to flavor that.
Yeah, I would struggle, I think, with the flavor profiles. You were talking about the juniper and gin. That's where I would, I think, need some help about what to mix and where. I'm so intimidated by this, Dean.
Well, here I took, don't be. Because at the end of the day, even if the drink you make at home isn't exactly what you want, you're still having a drink.
And I was going to say, you can pour it down the sink, too. No one's watching.
I was going to say, it may taste better after the second one.
Well, hopefully, because you learn from your mistake or your misstep, and now you picked it up. So here, this is a dried lemon peel, right? Very gin-like thing, especially when you're dealing with new American gins. But this is a Old Tom. This is not. This is a London Dry gin from Hayman's. They also make a regular Old Tom. But we're talking about Hayman's London Dry. Lemon peel. Maybe we can put a dash of cardamom bitters, which brings some of that cardamom flavor out of the chai tea. We can drop that on top of the lemon peel. We could drop cinnamon stick, clove. You can get juniper berries at most stores. You can pick up fresh cracked black peppercorn is awesome with gin. So that could ramp up all those flavor profiles. And then again, it depends on what you like to smell. I love the smell of fresh cracked black pepper. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to cut this for the next drink because I always run out of time because I end up talking too much.
I mean, we like having you on.
So I'm thinking ahead here a little bit.
Donovan's? Dean, can you order these hot toddies at Donovan's right now?
Oh, sure. Yeah, many bars should be able to make it as long as they have access to hot water, right?
Okay.
What are you doing?
Yeah,
cloves, right? I'm going to use, okay, we'll stick with bourbon. We'll use Michter's US 1, their small batch bourbon here, because I love it so. And this fun stemmed glass that I found last year that I'm in love with.
Ooh.
Butter, and it depends on how much you want to dilute it. Ooh, and I also brought something else fun. Ooh, and we also could put a little bit of lemon juice in with our gin.
I love that you're excited about it. Well, and if someone is just tuning in, I want to give people a little bit of background on you, Dean, because you mentioned at the top of the segment the research that you do, and you really take a lot of passion and time in creating the cocktails that are served there at Donovan's. And again, this is your passion, and it shows.
Well, my background comes from, initially I wanted to be a chef, and then I realized how hard that was, and I was making really good money as a server, so I just started drifting towards the wine world. And then I realized how difficult that was, and at this point I'm working at Sideburns, and I realized that nobody was paying attention to the bar program. The bartenders were great, the chef was amazing, but we weren't doing great cocktails. And that opened me up to that world of learning about spirits, and it was exactly the right time, I would say, in 2010, for me to explore that, because that was right before spirits exploded. The younger bartenders now have this Herculean climb to learn about everything that's behind the back bar. As someone like me who's been doing it long enough, I'm learning as we go. So the spirits, like even with, you want to make a Manhattan, there is an infinite amount of whiskeys and vermouths and bitters that you can choose. You can riff on a Manhattan for days and make great drinks and not even come close to what the original was, just based on the sheer volume of different products we have available to us today. So I feel quite lucky to have gotten into it 10 years ago.
And I think Donovan's is lucky to have you as their beverage director now.
Thank you. Yeah, so we have gin hot toddy, just playing around with the lemon peel. Again, if I had some juniper berries at home, we could have thrown that in there. I could throw some clove in there. I could stick in there. It all depends on your flavor profile and what you like. That ends up quite nice. I love the nose on it. Put a couple drops of cardamom bitters. And then for a classic old fashioned, I say classic meaning that we used whiskey, in this case bourbon, cinnamon stick, orange peel with some cloves studded in it. And I also poured a little bit of apple cider because I love what apple cider does. Apple in general, what it does with whiskey. It just kind of ramps up some of the
Especially
flavors.
this time of year.
Yeah. And it adds a touch of sweetness, not as much as simple syrup would, which is, I'll say this quickly if I have time, is that don't think of sweeteners as just sweeteners. They also add texture and mouthfeel to drinks. So, and you could take something that'd be very thin, which is whiskey and water, and that little bit of syrup would also add mouthfeel, not just sweetness.
Dean, you add texture to our show. It's always a treat when you join us. Happy New Year again. Check out Donovan's and, of course, all the cocktails that he is researching and making sure pair so great with the food served there as well.
Thank you, ladies.